Okay, we're here with Scott Punteney, who's the field organizer for the Western Iowa Labor Federation, and we're going to talk a little bit about what's been going on with labor here in the city of Council Bluffs School Board, and then kind of globally what's gone on with the public labor picture in the last year. So why don't you give us a quick education about what happened, what is Chapter 20, why does it matter, what happened?
Okay, Chapter 20 is part of the Iowa Code that deals with public sector unions, public sector bargainings. And it allowed both sides to come together, meet at the table, talk, bargain over their issues, and it gave them an arbitration process if there were any disputes that it would take to arbitration. In the private sector, you have strikes, you have lockouts that are kind of those mechanisms to get people to the center.
To get past the impasse.
Exactly.
Right.
To get past the impasse and get people to the center. Where in the public sector, they don't have those rights. There's no lockouts, there's no strikes.
And in Iowa's system, that arbiter had to choose either the management side or the workers' side. They couldn't blend the.
In the state of Iowa, well over 95% of all negotiations ended without arbitration, because both sides knew what to expect, and they knew you had to get close together before arbitration.
So there was even less and less arbitration needed.
Yes.
Oh, well, we got to jump on fixing that.
I know. There was also other things around Chapter 20 that they did. They made it illegal to have dues deductions. So if you want to become a member, now unions are forced to go out and have them collect union dues through banks, automatic withdrawals through your banks. Another big thing they did is the recertification process. So they changed it. So every year, a public sector union has their contract expired. There's a time before that that they have to recertify their union. And recertification means that they have a vote whether they want to retain the union as their voice, or if they do not. And the messed up part with this law is if you decide not to vote, so if you want to abstain for any reason or decide not to vote, the state votes for you.
There's no option for them to vote yes.
There's no option.
Want to be clear. It's a no vote.
The state automatically votes no for you. So then the next thing that comes up is negotiations. So in the private sector, almost everything is a mandatory subject to bargaining.
Vacation, safety regulations,
anything you can think
seniority, of. Uniform, safety.
Safety glasses, safety boots, everything is open to negotiations. In the public sector, that was different. Obviously, we have IPERS in the state of Iowa. We have 411 that covers a lot of fire employees, the firefighters. So they've never had the opportunity to negotiate over pensions in the state of Iowa, public sector. But now they added to that list about 8 other topics. They added.
Well, insurance is one, right? You
insurance.
Can't discuss
health insurance. You cannot. You can discuss it. Now you can sit down at the table and bargain it.
But you can't put it in the contract.
You cannot put it in the contract. It's illegal to put it in the contract.
It's illegal to put it in the contract.
It's prohibited to put in the contract. Yes. And dues deduction is another one. You can't put that in the contract. You can't put reductions in force or staff reductions. Leave language for political reasons. Mandatory, they kept only one topic, and that is base wages. All the other
that's
topics,
just base wage, though, right?
Wage.
It's not
longevity pay or pay based on how long you've been there or stair-stepped. Everything else, other than base wages and the prohibited topics, are what they call permissive topics of bargaining. And that covers everything from hours of work to vacation to seniority to longevity pay to grievance procedure, which is procedure to settle disputes within the workforce, between the employees and the management group.
And many of those things that you just mentioned are incredibly pertinent right now because we're dealing with a contract issue here in Council Bluffs and with the Council Bluffs School Board.
Yes.
where we're there's a contract that's been up for negotiation and it's been put forward without any of those permissive items
Correct.
in it. And a lot of those are the very items that were in those contracts. The grievance policy, vacations.
Correct. So in Council Bluffs, all around the state, as these different units come up for negotiations, their contracts are up this year, people are sitting down, and all over the state we are seeing good employers, we are seeing bad employers, and we are seeing employers that are somewhere in the middle. They're leaving some items in, but not near as much as they should. So I guess they would still probably be bad employers, right, in my eye, because I think everything should be left in the contract. There's no reason they're not. It's not a financial issue. It's not a budget issue. It's about doing right by their workers.
It's a
about
power
dignity,
issue.
Power issue. It's dignity, giving your workers dignity, showing them respect. So this has happened all over Iowa, and there's many cases of school districts and city councils that have done the right thing and have left those things in. Right here in Council Bluffs, they're not being treated fairly. They came to the negotiation table with offers of base wage. That's it.
So they've made a first move, which is to remove all the permissive items.
It's not a show of good faith. It's not a show of respecting their employees that they would lead with this as a first
right
thing. Because these employees aren't asking for something they don't already have. They just want the same items that they've already negotiated, that they gave up things in the past for to keep in their contracts. They want to keep these issues, and they want to keep them in their contract. So the big thing is these school boards and city councils, like here in Council Bluffs, want to move everything to a handbook. And a handbook is just not legally binding.
I see the argument against handbook very, very clearly. It seems like the municipality is trying to put everything into the handbook to say this is our uniform way of behaving with all of our employees, union or not employee. It makes being part of a union relatively unnecessary if you're stripped of everything and just given the same thing that everybody else gets.
Well, I believe that's what management thinks. I believe that's what the state legislature thought. That's why this is a union busting bill, and that's what they wanted. That's their end goal, is to break unions.
Right. It is very much a clear stair step. We're going to remove the ability to negotiate, then we're going to put this in the hands of the municipalities and make them responsible for enforcing this. And then we're going to discourage anybody from being in the union because of that. Therefore, unions will go away.
And we're discouraging people from speaking out. We're using subtle intimidation and other forms to try to stop people from speaking out about this.
And we're seeing the city attorneys and the attorneys for the school boards as the ones who are really intimidating these elected officials.
And so we really need strong people on our city councils and our school boards to stand up. They are the ones that actually have the power in this. The negotiators are hired by the city, by the school districts. The school board and the city council are the boss in that equation. For years, the system worked so good where both parties came together, reached an agreement. All they had to do was go here to the city council, and the city council, both sides agreed on this. Yeah, easy, done.
Sign it off.
So that's what it's done. So the city councils haven't even been involved in the process until afterwards. Well, times have changed. Right. This law made it change. So now we have to be proactive and get these school boards, city councils, to talk about this before or during negotiations. And that's been the difficult part.
And I've had direct conversations with city council members about that very issue.
Yes,
you have
so have I.
Right, I know you have. But their response has been, we've been told,
the city attorney has told me
not to talk about
not
that.
to talk. I can't talk, and my response has always been,
isn't that a crime?
I would think so. So my response has always been, I'm a constituent. I'm not involved in these negotiations. I'm just somebody from the public that votes for you, and you won't talk to me about an issue that you are going to be voting on here coming up? Right. Oh, I want to make sure that they're clear on the law, that they're clear on what their power is in this situation, that they don't have to do what the city attorney tells them to do, or their legal counsel tells them to do.
Right.
Those are things that I want to talk to them, make sure they understand the difference between a handbook and a contract.
If anybody is undermining anything, it sounds like it is the city attorney and the negotiators, the attorneys, who are undermining these elected officials' ability to do what they were elected to do, which is to stand up for what's best for the city. If you're trying to grow a healthy community, a healthy economy, then you want to see your employee. You are leading the way in Council Bluffs.
Build from the bottom up.
You're building right. You are leading the average wage for your community, most likely. If you're a municipality the size of Council Bluffs, you employ a lot of workers who have similar non-public sector relatives. Sure. And so when you raise up your public sector workers and say this is how we value you, it asks the private sector to raise up how they value their workers as well.
Absolutely. And it goes with, it's not just a union, non-union thing, it goes across the board. I mean, it raises up wages and living conditions and, satisfaction, happiness with your jobs. I think some of these board members and council members are looking for a way to hide and looking for a way not to talk about the issue.
So are those the kind of people you want running your city?
They're not the kind of people I want running my city. Yeah. And I'm hopeful to change that in a couple of years. We'll have new elections in a couple of years, and hopefully we can change that. We did very good last year in both city council and school board in getting. We had two endorsed candidates for school board, both won. We had 2 endorsed candidates for city council, both won. But they are all still with us. But it's really tough in defense of them. It's really tough being on a board when you know you're the minority.
Right.
And you don't have the numbers speaking up. Because even though we moved those boards in our favor, we still don't have the majority.
Failure to respond to failure to change the state legislature and change the governor is the equivalent of
dismantling of Ivers.
Right, and I mean, you would call that municipal suicide.
Yeah,
you are damaging the hopes of your county, city, school board, whatever, from ever being at the level Iowa used to be.
Yes, and we're just talking about a couple subjects. So we're talking about the collective bargaining. We're talking about Ivers. We can also say the same thing with public education. It's unbelievable what what huge destruction Republicans have done in a 2-year span since they've controlled everything. It's absolutely mind-blowing, the destruction. It's going to take a long time to overcome this, So I know if you live in Pottawatomie County or in Council Bluffs, I really encourage you to email the mayor, the city council, the school board members. Let them know if you're dissatisfied with what they're doing and the way they're treating their employees. As dissatisfied as I am, come to a school board meeting. Come to a city council meeting. They meet on the 2nd and 4th Mondays and 2nd and 4th Tuesdays.
The power behind the blue wave is the people. That's the energy to it.
Absolutely.
I talk to folks and tell them, I don't just want your commitment to vote. I want your commitment to bring 5 people to the polls with you.
And we need the commitment from people that will have these conversations over these issues that are important to Iowans.
But there is an influenceable sphere of voter that we should be looking at. And those are the people who, we had people who voted for Obama twice. Counties that went for Obama twice and then went for Trump. So that means there are people who are influenceable in those counties, those places. And we should be having conversations with those people. Mm-hmm. Well, thank you very much for tuning in today. We'll have Scott on again, I'm sure. I'm Glenn Hurst, and this is Speak to Us.